Hi guys, this video has been a very long time coming. This is my next installment of my top rappers series. As I previously mentioned, when I go into greater detail with as I go higher and higher on the list of my favorite rappers, I'm going to expound on each one almost in like an essay-like format. Just quickly, as for my odd lifting, my weightlifting, my cheat dumbbell curls, my odd lifting, that will be addressed in the next video I put up, and I don't know when that video is going to come. Should come by mid-August or sometime in August next month. So I'm going to start right now with my top rapper series. I'm at number 15, and here we go. My number 15 rapper on my top rappers list is Big Daddy Kane. Big Daddy Kane, or BDK for short. He is a member of the jam band Last Supper and a former member of the legendary Juice Crew. His real name is Antonio Hardy. He is from Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, New York City, USA. Big Daddy Kane started writing rhymes in 1982, working alongside comedic rapper Biz Markie. You probably remember him. He had that one hit. I think it was called Just a Friend or something like that. But he started working with Biz Markie, and Biz Markie worked as his producer, and Big Daddy Kane started as a hype man for Biz Markie, who was kind of like a comedic novelty rapper. So he started writing rhymes in 1982. In 1986, he formally joined the Juice Crew. And the Juice Crew was a very renowned, especially in New York City, which is where they were based, was a very renowned collective of MCs, DJs, and producers. The other members of the Juice Crew were Sal Abatiello, I guess that's how you pronounce his name. He was a producer and a dancer, a b-boy. Sweet G, DJ Junebug, Curtis Blow, Marley Marl, Mr. Magic, Roxanne Shante, Dimples D, MC Shan, Biz Markie, Mr. C, TJ Swan, DJ Polo, Cool G Rap, Masta Ace, Craig G, Glamorous, MC Debbie D, Tragedy, the Intelligent Hoodlum, who would later become known as Tragedy Gaddafi, and Granddaddy IU. So that's a lot of members. Not all of them were members of the Juice Crew at the same time, but those are through the maybe 10 plus year history of the Juice Crew. Those were all the members. I will put them in the. I'll write down all the names below in text below the video in the description section of all the members of the Juice Crew from their earliest days to their end as a collective. In 1987, Big Daddy Kane signed with Cold Chillin' Records and released his legendary single, Raw. Yeah, that still holds up. Raw holds up as one of the greatest hip-hop singles of all time, in my opinion. It's 30 years old now. Later that year, his first album, Long Live the Kane, and I think Long Live the Kane is one of the top hip-hop albums of all time, almost 30 years later. Long Live the Kane was put into production in 1987. The album was released in June of 1988. The debut album, Big Daddy Kane, Long Live the Kane. I consider it one of the greatest, probably a top 10 album in hip-hop history. It had production by Marley Marl, Mr. C, and Mr. Magic. And the production was groundbreaking, and so was the lyricism of Big Daddy Kane. The lyrics, hooks, choruses, and beats off of Long Live the Kane continued to be sampled and are sampled even in mainstream hip-hop to this very day. On his debut album, Big Daddy Kane proved himself to be a master of rapid fire delivery and flow, multi-layered wordplay, multi-syllabic rhyme, energetic and fun party-friendly themes, conscious political subject matter, and hardcore street/battle lyrics. The tracks Raw, the remix, Set It Off, Ain't No Half Steppin', I'll Take You There, Long Live the Kane, On the Bug Tip, Word to the Motherland, Just Rhyming with Biz, and Mr. C's Master Plan are their hip-hop canon, they're absolute classics. Big Daddy Kane went on to release 6 more studio albums over the next 10 years. His last studio album, Veterans Day, was released over 19 years ago in April of 1998. Big Daddy Kane has not released a full-length solo album since then. Since 1998, he has done collaborative features on other artists' albums. He's done soundtrack appearances. He's released original tracks on compilation albums. In the late 2000s, Big Daddy Kane formed a jam band, a jazz soul/funk band called Last Supper. Last Supper has only released 3 or 4 original tracks to date. This band continues to sporadically perform live as of 2016-2017. Big Daddy Kane was an early mentor of Busta Rhymes. So he was an early mentor of Busta Rhymes, of Q-Tip, of A Tribe Called Quest, and of course of Jay-Z. All 3 of those rappers are forever indebted to Big Daddy Kane, because you see the influence Big Daddy Kane gave them even to this day in Busta Rhymes or Q-Tip or Jay-Z. If there was no Big Daddy Kane, none of those guys would ever have had careers, in my opinion. He got Busta Rhymes, Q-Tip, and Jay-Z to do features, very early features in all 3 of those guys' respective careers on his albums long before they were famous or big names in mainstream hip-hop. We're talking like, for some, like Q-Tip, like 1988-89. And for Jay-Z, like 91, 92. This is way before. The same thing for Busta Rhymes. This 91, 92. This is way before they were famous in the mid to later 90s. Or way before A Tribe Called Quest, in the case of Q-Tip, became famous as a group. I would be personally very excited to see BDK go back and into the booth and record a new solo studio album. He is a top 5 of all-time old school MC. A little update on him. In early 2017, he did a notable feature with War Porn Industries. So, War Porn Industries, that's an underground hip-hop supergroup consisting of Everlast, Sick Jackin, and Divine Styler. Everlast, you all know him from his solo career from House of Pain. He was a former member of the underground supergroup La Coka Nostra. Divine Styler has been around for ages. He's as an underground / alternative hip-hop legend. Divine Styler came to prominence as a member of Rhyme Syndicate. Sick Jackin is a member of the Psycho Realm and Six Symphonies. He's associated with Cypress Hill and Be Real, and a lot of Latino rappers on the West Coast. So Big Daddy Kane in early 2017 did a feature with War Porn Industries, and the track is pretty decent. If you want to check it out, just type in on YouTube, search War Porn Industries featuring Big Daddy Kane, and Big Daddy Kane still has it, you know. Okay, number 15 is Big Daddy Kane. Number 14, Rest in Paradise, Rest in Power, is Big L, or Lamont Coleman. The late great Big L was formerly a member of the collective, the hip-hop collective, Children of the Corn, and the Diggin in the Crates crew. He originates from Harlem, New York City, USA. So he's from Harlem, New York, USA. His real name, as I said, is Lamont Coleman. This man has left a lyrical legacy of some of the greatest and wittiest punchlines in hip-hop history. In addition, he has also left hip-hop fans with a veritable smorgasbord of hardcore street battle lyrics, skillful wordplay, and vivid and gritty storytelling. In his short career, Big L was an underground MC, always on the precipice of getting a larger mainstream record deal. First, he got attention from Sean Combs from Bad Boy Records in about 1994. Right before Big L's untimely and tragic death in early 1999, he was in the process of finalizing a deal with Jay-Z on Rockefeller Records. Big L may have never sold millions of albums, but his lyrics will be remembered by hip-hop heads for many, 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 many decades to come. He started freestyle rhyming and doing freestyle rhyme. He started freestyle rhyming and doing battle raps or battling in his Harlem neighborhood as an 11-year-old in the summer of 1985. In 1989, Big L decided to pursue a full-time hip-hop career. By that time, word had spread throughout New York City and throughout the northeastern United States about his lyrical talent, his ability to win battles, and his freestyling ability. In 1990, he met the man who would become his mentor, Lord Finesse, the legendary New York City-based rapper and producer, co-founder of the D.I.T.C, or the Diggin in the Crates crew. Lord Finesse, a legend right there. In 1991, he started recording his own solo demo tracks. Several of those demo tracks would be repackaged and altered lyrically, and some of the song title names would be changed, and the production would be changed, and they eventually would be released on his debut studio album, Lifestyles of the Poor and Dangerous. Lifestyles of the Poor and Dangerous came out in March of 1995. That was his debut album, but hip-hop fans were first introduced to Big L in 1991. He appeared on the track Party Over Here. It was a single by Lord Finesse, his mentor. This track was called, I meant to say he appeared on the B-side of the Party Over Here single by Lord Finesse. The track he actually appeared on was called Yes You May, the remix. So again, he appeared on the B-side of the Party Over Here single by Lord Finesse on the track Yes You May, the remix. And that was in late 1991, where he first got to hear him. Fans first got to hear him on a record. In 1991, he appeared on the B-side. So as I said, there's a lot of information to go through. In 1991, he appeared on the B-side of Party Over Here, the single by Lord Finesse. The B-side was Yes You May, the remix, and that was the first time Big L was really ever recorded professionally in a studio, and that was recorded in late 1991. In 1992, he appeared on the Showbiz and AG track Represent from their album Runaway Slave. In 1993, Big L signed with Columbia Records and formally joined the Diggin in the Crates, or D.I.T.C crew of MCs, DJs, and producers. The other members of D.I.T.C were Showbiz and AG, Lord Finesse, Diamond D, O.C, Fat Joe, and Buck Wild. In January of 1993, Big L wrote and recorded the horrorcore themed rap track called Devil's Son, which was very groundbreaking at the time, his track Devil's Son. As far as East Coast rap went, and as far as horrorcore, brutal horrorcore rap went, Devil's Son from early 1993 was a very, very groundbreaking track. He released it as a promotional single. In 1994, he released a sex-themed cautionary tale track called Clinic. I should have used a rubber. So it's called Clinic. I should have used a rubber. That was released in 1994. Clinic. I should have used a rubber. Better known as Clinic. Sometimes known on mixtapes as I should have used a rubber. And as I mentioned, in March of 1995, Lifestyles of the Poor and Dangerous hit store shelves. After its release, the album was critically acclaimed. So it was almost an instant classic by hip-hop critics and fans alike. It was deemed so by hip-hop critics and fans alike. It was not a huge commercial. Success, and did not sell well. This was partially due to the fact that Columbia Records did not do very much promotional marketing for Big L's debut album, so it wasn't promoted properly by Columbia Records. More copies of Lifestyles of the Poor and Dangerous sold over time after Big L's untimely death. The album, Big L's debut album, Lifestyles of the Poor and Dangerous, has garnered underground classic and golden era classic status among hip-hop heads today, even mainstream hip-hop heads. So even magazines like The Source or Double XL talk, highly, as I talk highly, of Lifestyles of the Poor and Dangerous. I consider probably Lifestyles of the Poor and Dangerous to be a top 20 of all-time hip-hop album. Every track on that album I would consider to be a hardcore hip-hop classic. My personal favorites from that album are Put It On, I Don't Understand It, MVP, Street Struck, and Let 'Em Have It L. The track 8 Is Enough features 7 other rappers, including members of the hip-hop collective, which Big L was a member of, called Children of the Corn. This was a posse cut, this track. The rappers that appeared on the track 8 Is Enough are Terra, Herb McGruff, Buddha Bless, Big Twan, Killa Cam, who would later go on to very big mainstream success under the name Cam Ron. So he'd become Cameron or Camron and have huge mainstream success later in the 90s and in the early 2000s. Trooper J and Mike Boogie. Big L was also in a side project group while Big L was in side project groups like Children of the Corn or Diggin in the Crates, I think that his solo material is something that really stood out more so than the stuff he did with Diggin in the Crates and Children of the Corn. The other members of Children of the Corn were Bloodshed, Murda Mace, and Murda Mace, like Camron, would later go on in the late 90s and early 2000s to huge mainstream success as Mace when he was signed in the late 90s to early 2000s as a member of Bad Boy Records. And the other member of Children of the Corn would be Herb McGruff. And there is another posse cut track on Lifestyles of the Poor and Dangerous called The Graveyard or The Graveyard. This track featured Jay-Z, Lord Finesse, and the late great battle rapper Party Artie. So on the track The Graveyard or The Graveyard, it had featured on that track was Jay-Z, Lord Finesse, and the late battle rapper Party Artie. So that's a very solid track as well. There were a few other guys featured on that track, but the prominent rappers featured on the track The Graveyard were Jay-Z, Lord Finesse, and Party Artie. Big L and Jay-Z would also do a very notable kind of free verse or free radio freestyle on the Stretch and Bobbito radio show, where I think that Big L really embarrassed and outshined Jay-Z on that. It was probably about 1995 on the Stretch and Bobbito radio show, and that really showed Big L's ability. And this is when Jay-Z was in his prime, and Big L just really outshined him and embarrassed him on that free verse, where they gave him about 7 to maybe 12 minutes just to spit their best verses. It was Big L dropped some gems on there, and Jay-Z couldn't match him. In 1996, Big L got into an argument with the executives at Columbia Records over creative control, over the subject matter of his lyrics. That year in 1996, Big L was cut or released from the roster of Columbia Records. So in 1996, he was released from Columbia Records, which was and still is a very major record label. In 1997, he founded his own, in late 1997, he founded his own kind of vanity label called Flamboyant Entertainment. And also in late 1997, he started recording tracks for his second studio album, which would be called The Big Picture. Big L's mission statement for Flamboyant Entertainment was to create authentic record label for East Coast rappers who represented hardcore, conscious, and lyrical hip-hop. And he didn't want to reflect mainstream hip-hop as much, which was becoming more and more watered down at the time. In the fall or autumn of 1998, so like in September or October of 1998, Big L was contacted by executive Damon Dash, or Dame Dash, of Rockefeller Records. Damon Dash wanted to sign Big L as a solo artist. Big L wanted to join Rockefeller, but he did not want to join as a solo artist. He wanted to form a group on the label. And he wanted the group to be called the Wolf Pack. So Big L wanted to form a group on the label Rockefeller Records, Jay-Z's label. And he wanted the group to be called the Wolf Pack. And he wanted the group to consist of himself, C-Town, who was an up-and-coming rapper. I don't know where he is nowadays, but his name was C-Town. Herb McGruff, and very boldly, he asked Jay-Z to be a member of the Wolf Pack. So the Wolf Pack was supposed to have consisted of Big L, C-Town, Herb McGruff, and Jay-Z. And right at that time, Jay-Z's career is going on an upward mainstream trajectory. So that was a pretty big thing to ask for Jay-Z to join him in a hip-hop supergroup on Rockefeller Records at the time. The legal and contractual paperwork was being processed in January of 1999, and Jay-Z agreed to release at least one album with C-Town, Herb McGruff, and Big L as the Wolf Pack. They were set to release their debut album. The Wolf Pack was set to release their debut in the autumn or fall of 1999. And Tragically, right when Big L was at the height of his career, he was killed. In mid-February of 1999, Lamont Coleman was fatally shot 9 times in the upper body during a drive-by shooting in his home borough of Harlem. A man who had known Big L since childhood was arrested by police as a suspect in May of 1999. Shortly after, this man was released without charges. The NYPD homicide unit decided it couldn't build a sufficient case against the man accused of shooting and killing Big L. The horrific murder of Big L remains unsolved to this very day. So his murder remains unsolved. And the theory, or what people think, is that the person who killed Big L is the person that the police initially sought. And the reason he killed Big L wasn't because he had anything against Big L, but it was because he got into an argument with Big L's brother, who was in prison at the time in February of 1999. So instead of getting at his brother, he went after Big L, which either way is just a stupid thing to do, and it's a tragedy. Hip-hop lost one of its great lyricists and rappers. His album, his second studio album, The Big Picture, was released posthumously, or after Big L's tragic death, in August of 2000 on Raucous Records. The version of The Big Picture, which was released by Raucous Records and arrived in stores in August of 2000, was, from what I heard, very different than the version Big L was looking to record and conceive. It had different features, it had different producers, production methods were switched around, the finalized list of songs on the album was switched around. It was still a fairly good album. My favorite tracks from that album are Ebonics, Size 'Em Up, Flamboyant, Fall Back featuring Cool G Rap, the 98 Freestyle, and the 98 Freestyle has some of the best punchlines I've ever heard in hip hop, and that's just a great track. The 98 Freestyle, The Big Picture or The Big Picture Intro, Platinum Plus featuring Big Daddy Kane, The Heist, and Casualties of a Dice Game. All of those are great tracks from Big L's second album, The Big Picture. I still consider The Big Picture a very decent album, although it was not as good as Big L's first album, Lifestyles of the Poor and Dangerous. Several other remixed and remastered posthumous albums of Big L's material have been released since then. There have also been releases of albums of his live concert performance, archive demos, and freestyles. His group session material from the Diggin in the Crates crew and Children of the Corn has been compiled over several albums and released over the last 15 years. Rest in Paradise, Rest in Power, Lamont Coleman, 1974 to 1999. Number 14 on my list is Lamont Coleman, aka Big L. Okay, on to the next one. Number 13 on my list of greatest or top rappers is Celph Titled of Army of the Pharaohs and the Demigodz. He is a former member of the Hogg, Barbarians, and Equilibrium. Celph Titled is from Tampa, Florida, USA. His real name is Victor Mercer. Celph Titled is known for his close to 20-year association with his good friend A.O.T.P, who I previously mentioned. I think it was in the last installment of this my top rapper series. Celph Titled started rapping in the late 1980s as a young teen. He developed a skill set based on punchline rapping, and I consider Celph Titled a top 5 of all-time punchline rapper. In 1996, in Tampa, Florida, he formed a hip-hop group called Equilibrium. The other members of the group were Dutch Massive, Magic Most, and DJ Cramtronics. In 1998, Equilibrium released the singles Fahrenheit 813, Critical Conditions, and Windows 98. Windows 98 was controversial because the group illegally sampled the Windows 1995 startup music. So they illegally sampled the Windows 95 startup music. This track came out right before Windows 98 came out, either in late 1997 or early 1998. Celph Titled's group and his bandmates in Equilibrium were sued by Microsoft. The lawsuit was dropped in 1999. In 1999, Equilibrium followed up with the hardcore style underground tracks "Do That" and "Hold Something." Later that year, the group garnered interest from Jimmy Iovine at Interscope Records. They met with Jimmy Iovine in New York City, but they could not come to a deal. I can't confirm this to be true, but I have heard rumors online that Jimmy Iovine wanted Equilibrium to work with Dr. Dre and Eminem and to be signed to Shady Records. And I can't confirm this is a rumor. At the time, Eminem did not want to work with any lyrical white rappers who could steal his thunder. After a few more meetings, the deal totally fell through, and Equilibrium did not end up signing to Interscope Records. In the year 2000, Equilibrium broke up, so they broke up soon after. Celph Titled moved to New York City, and he worked as a producer and as an A&R agent for various smaller labels or independent record labels. Two of these labels were Buds International and Bronx Science Records. Both of these labels no longer exist. In 1999, he met A.O.T.P of the Demigodz hip-hop crew. So he met A.O.T.P in 1999. A.O.T.P asked Celph Titled to join the group. In 2000, Celph Titled produced and released an instrumental vinyl album intended for DJ battling called Beefsteak Breaks. In the first half of 2002, the Demigodz released the legendary underground EP, The Gods Must Be Crazy, and the single Well, Well, Well. The Gods Must Be Crazy EP, for the time, for the early 2000s, featured groundbreaking and hilarious punchlines. Most of them were from Self-Titled. Many of Self-Titled's punchlines and rhyme schemes from this EP have been reworked, recycled, and altered and used as prototypes by modern battle rappers today. So in leagues like King of the Dot or Got Beef or I Battle Worldwide, Smack URL, Don't Flop, in modern battle rap, on the YouTube channels that have these big battle rap leagues that I mentioned. Another one would be Ozone battles, UW battles, A.H.A.T. battles. I mentioned before King of the Dot, Don't Flop, Got Beef, Smack URL. A lot of these current battle rappers basically have ripped off Self-Titled's punchlines and just reworked them into their own rhyme schemes for their battles. So Self-Titled was groundbreaking with his punchlines, and anywhere from when he started in with Equilibrium to when he first started with the Demigodz. And if you just watch current battle rap, you'll see guys like Disaster or Pat Stay or Head Ice, Daylight, Hollow the Dawn, and many other famous battle rappers. Arsenal the Rebel, Arsenal. All of these guys, they rip off the type of punchlines that Self-Titled would have done back in the 90s and early 2000s. In 2004, the Gods Must Be Crazy EP was remastered and re-released as the Gods Must Be Crazier LP. New material was added, extra tracks and extra features and remixes. And the Gods Must Be Crazier LP was again re-released 3 years later in 2007 with even more bonus material, remixes, new features, B-sides, instrumentals, acapellas. So there are two re-releases of the original 2002 The Gods Must Be Crazy EP. In 2004, Mike Shinoda of Linkin Park asked Self-Titled and Apathy to be featured on tracks for his hip-hop side project, Fort Minor. Fort Minor released a mixtape called Fort Minor We Major in October of 2005. The following month, in November of 2005, Fort Minor's debut album, The Rising Tide, came out. The Rising Tide was executive produced by Mike Shinoda and Jay-Z. So they're a big name producer for that album, Jay-Z. In November of 2006, the Fort Minor Militia EP was released. And this EP had some very big names on it, and so did the other Fort Minor material. Some of those names are Common, hip-hop legend Common, Eric Bobo of Cypress. Common was on there, on the Fort Minor releases. Eric Bobo, I don't know if Eric Bobo is currently in Cypress Hill or not, but he was also on there. Jules Santana of Dipset, or the Diplomats, was on there. John Legend, Skylar Grey, other members of Linkin Park, underground hip-hop crew, Styles of Beyond, Ghostface Killah of the Wu-Tang Clan, hip-hop super producer Scoop DeVille, Black Thought of the Roots, DJ Green Lantern, and Lupe Fiasco. So on the Fort Minor albums, there were very, very big names that worked on those albums, along with Apathy and Self-Titled. From a mainstream perspective, that makes the resumes of both Self-Titled and Apathy very, very impressive. I feel that some of the best material on the Fort Minor albums, or the Fort Minor releases, were verses by Self-Titled and Apathy. Also in 2006, Self-Titled teamed up with New York City rapper and producer J-Zone to form the comedy novelty hip-hop duo, the Hogg Barbarians. They released a studio album, an EP, and a single. The Hogg Barbarians dissolved as a group soon after. Also, again in 2006, Self-Titled and Apathy released an album together. This album was called No Place Like Chrome. Self-Titled's crowning achievement that year. So this 2006 was a very, very, very busy year for Self-Titled. But his crowning achievement of that year, and I think so far of Self-Titled's career, arguably, was the release of this 4-CD compilation album, The Catalog, A Collection of Chaos. The Catalog was the first 4-CD album in hip-hop history. Also, in early 2006, Self-Titled joined Vinnie Paz's Army of the Pharaohs crew. He and Apathy are still members of Army of the Pharaohs and continue to contribute to the group's albums. In 2010, Self-Titled teamed up with legendary hip-hop producer Buck Wild, who is a member of the Diggin and the Crates crew, which the late great Big L was formerly a member of. And Self-Titled and Buck Wild released the classic album 1990 Now. And I really mean that 1990 Now is a classic album. It has great production by Buck Wild and incredible versatile lyrics by Self-Titled. This album came out in late 2010. It's often overlooked. 1990 Now is really just from start to finish a great classic hip-hop album. Great production, great lyrics. The album has, it has slick lyrics. It has Self-Titled's punchlines. It has old school golden age beats on there by Buck Wild. Buck Wild even put some beats on there that were supposed to be meant for Big L himself on the album. So he felt that Self-Titled was worthy of rhyming over beats that were meant for he meant that Buck Wild felt that Self-Titled was worthy of rhyming over beats that were originally meant for Lamont Coleman or Big L. Some of the features on the album 1990 Now are Tretch of Naughty by Nature, Vinnie Paz of Jedi Mind Tricks, Styles of Beyond, underground hip-hop supergroup Styles of Beyond, MC Esoteric of 7L and Esoteric, Apathy, of course, Chino XL, R.A. the Rugged Man, O.C., F.T., Sadat X, and Graham Puba of Brand Nubian, Diamond D of the Diggin and the Crates crew, and his old friends from Equilibrium, Magic Most, and Dutch Massive. From start to finish, I consider the album a classic. Not many people know of it, but I consider it a classic. The album garnered positive reviews, even from mainstream music publications. I believe that XXL and The Source, both, at least online, I don't know about in the magazine, but online they gave the album 1919 Now a very positive review. Self-titled and Buck Wild followed up in 2011 with an EP titled 1990 More. This featured new tracks, new guest appearances, new remixes, and instrumentals. In early 2013, the Demigodz finally got together and released a new studio album, a play on the debut studio album of Nas, Illmatic. The debut studio album of the Demigodz was called Killmatic. On that album, I feel there are at least 8 classic underground tracks, and they pay homage to the hip-hop pioneers that came before them, such as Ice Cube, Eazy-E, Big L, rest in paradise, Lord Finesse, Big Punisher, rest in paradise. From what I hear, Self-Titled plans to release a solo album called The Fresh Prince of Hell's Lair, and also he plans to release another album with Apathy called We'll Sing for Vengeance. I am very excited and I'm eagerly awaiting the release of those albums. There's been no set date for those albums yet. I should also mention that Self-Titled is a very, very accomplished hip-hop producer, on top of being a great MC. His good friend Apathy is also a very, very skilled producer as well. I say with confidence that if Self-Titled never broke the ground that he did with his ingenious, witty, hilarious, and mind-bending punchlines, that modern battle rap would lack the character it does today, and it would not be as lyrical as it is today. So, number 13 on my list is Self-Titled. Of the Demigodz, of Army of the Pharaohs, and formerly of the Boss Hogg Barbarians and Equilibrium. Number 13 is Self-Titled. Okay. And the list just keeps on getting better. I know it's taking a long time to go through, but some of these rappers are just, like, just wait till I get to my top 10. Number 12 on my list is R.A. the Rugged Man, formerly known as the Crustified Dibbs. He is from Suffolk County, Long Island, New York, USA. R.A. the Rugged Man's real name is Richard Andrew Thorburn. He started rapping in about 1985 or 1986. His father, retired Staff Sergeant John Andrew Thorburn, had introduced him to black music, to African American or black music like soul music, gospel music, funk music, spoken word music, jazz, rock, and blues music at an early age. R.A. Around this time in 1985 or 1986, his father bought him a copy of the Fat Boys album from which was released in 1984. That was the debut album by the Fat Boys, so his dad bought him the Fat Boys. I think it was the Fat Boys debut album, I'm not sure, but it came out in 1984, the album The Fat Boys. And he also bought him the album The Fat Boys Are Back from 1985. And that's what initially got R.A. the Rugged Man into hip-hop. His father bought him those albums as encouragement because R.A. was an unpopular, so he was bullied in school. He was an unpopular, bullied fat kid with low self-esteem. And when his dad bought him the first two Fat Fat Boy studio albums, he immersed himself in hip-hop. His interest in hip-hop just exploded from there. He soon discovered the music of the Juice Crew, Boogie Down Productions, Public Enemy, Rakim, Run DMC, Kool Moe Dee, Stetsasonic, Ultramagnetic MCs, LL Cool J, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, Tila Rock, Houdini, Lovebug Starski, Busy Bee Starski, Curtis Blow, Dougie Fresh, and Slick Rick. By 1987, R.A. was well known on Long Island for rap battles, freestyling, and putting on impromptu concerts in schoolyards, parking lots, swap meets, shopping malls, and at neighborhood gatherings like barbecues. By 1991, he had built a solid reputation in the greater New York City area as a lyrical prodigy and as a very comical, quick-witted lyricist. He was offered record deals by Jive Records, Mercury Records, Priority Records, Tommy Boy Records, and by Def Jam Records. He chose to sign with Jive Records in early 1992, so in 1992, R.A. signed with Jive Records. This was a choice he would later regret. I personally feel that this early career mistake made R.A. a better and more authentic artist. His struggles in the industry defined his unique persona and gave him immense determination and character. Jive Records, when they signed him in 1992, gave him production money to make his debut album. The executives at Jive Records never really believed in him, though. They wanted him to have a softer and refined image since he was a white rapper. They kind of wanted him to be like a chubbier Vanilla Ice, if you will, commercial friendly. He denied their requests and rebelled. He made his rap name the Crustified Dibbs, and he recorded a hardcore hip-hop album with I would say a hardcore / horrorcore hip-hop album with lots of swearing, lots of graphic content as his debut studio album, just to rub it in to these stupid executives at Jive Records. According to one story, he urinated and defecated on the studio's production equipment and brought in naked groupies during the night shift into Jive Records' office. This behavior led Jive Records to shelve or refuse to release R.A.'s debut album in 1994. This album, Night of the Bloody Apes, I feel was a pretty groundbreaking album. It was supposed to be released to stores in 1994, but because of what I mentioned, it was shelved, and eventually I think R.A. got the rights to the album, bought back the rights to the album, and re-released it as an underground release. It has been re-released by R.A. personally and has been bootlegged many times under R.A. the Rugged Man's moniker, the Crustified Dibbs. While the album had not the greatest production for obvious reasons, it showcased R.A.'s trademark humor. For instance, the track Bloodshed Hoo-Ha has a music video made for it. And the music video for Bloodshed Hoo-Ha, so just in the YouTube search bar, type in R.A. the Rugged Man, or you can type in the Crustified Dibbs or Crustified Dibbs Bloodshed Hoo-Ha, and it's a very comical video from the golden era, 1993-94. It didn't get much play on MTV, but it was played a few times Late Night on MTV back in 1993 and 1994. My favorite track on Night of the Bloody Apes is Every Record Label Sucks Dick. Now this song showed both humor and very, very skillful lyricism. On Every Record Label Sucks Dick, R.A. rightly criticized the greedy record executives. He said that they know nothing about real hip-hop culture, and subsequently he was released, as I said, in 1994 by Jive Records and blackballed for several years from all record labels. It's worth noting that on Night of the Bloody Apes, there was a track featuring the Notorious B.I.G., a very early Notorious B.I.G., circa maybe 1992, 1993. The track was called Cunt Renaissance. On this track, R.A. the Rugged Man lyrically outshined the Notorious B.I.G. Biggie Smalls is actually quoted as saying, after he worked with and recorded with R.A. the Rugged Man, he's recorded as saying, "I thought I was the illest," but obviously he wasn't, as R.A. the Rugged Man is a better rapper. That endorsement is enough to put R.A.'s name into discussion as a top 15 or even top 10 of all time rapper. So even Biggie Smalls, who many say is the greatest of all time, admitted that R.A. the Rugged Man, and this is when R.A. the Rugged Man was nowhere near his prime, Biggie Smalls admitted that R.A. the Rugged Man was a better rapper. After being dropped by Jive in 1994, R.I. signed with Priority/EMI Records in 1995. From 1996 to 1999, he recorded, from 1996 to 1999, he recorded many classic solo tracks and features. These tracks showed his evolution as a lyricist and his mastering of multisyllabic rhyme schemes. They showed also an increased focus on wordplay and storytelling. I'm not going to name all these tracks individually. There are at least like 100 of them. A collection of his solo material was supposed to be released under his current name, R.A. the Rugged Man, by Priority/EMI in 1999 as his second studio album, or as his second solo album, and his first album that was supposed to be not shelved, but due to budget issues and a lack of mainstream interest, or what was perceived as a lack of mainstream interest by the executives at Priority Records, R.A.'s second album was shelved. So R.A. had bad luck early in his career. Two shelved albums. Two albums that were never released. Some tracks from this album were bootlegged and re-released by fans. A rough cut of this second album that was supposed to be released has been released online. It is called American Lowlife. During this time, R.A. the Rugged Man also dealt with serious family issues. I mentioned that his father was in the Army. His father, Staff Sergeant John Andrew Thorburn, served heroically in the Vietnam War before R.A. the Rugged Man and his siblings were born. In Vietnam, his father was poisoned with Agent Orange and was afflicted mentally by post-traumatic stress disorder, which led to him becoming an alcoholic and a drug addict. Even more tragically, his father's exposure to Agent Orange was genetically transferred to two of R.A. the Rugged Man's siblings. His brother Max was born with mental retardation, severe physical handicaps, and blindness. Max tragically passed away at age 10. R.A.'s the Rugged Man's sister, Deanne, was born deaf and unable to walk. Sadly, she died at the age of 26 in 2007. Long awaited, R.A.'s second official studio album, if we count American Lowlife as his debut studio album. So R.A.'s second official studio album, and really his true hip-hop debut, came out in 2004 on the independent hip-hop label Nature Sounds. The album is called Die Rugged Man Die. In my opinion, every track on that album is a classic. You look at a track like A Star Is Born, it serves as a sequel to every record label sucks dick. And that album, Die Rugged Man Die, it's very underrated, but I consider it a classic. After the 2004 release of Die Rugged Man Die, R.A. did some classic feature verses on other rappers' albums that built up his status to that of an underground legend even further. In 2009, R.A. released the compilation album Legendary Classics Volume 1, and a lot of the tracks on this album were old masters or old tracks that were recorded between 1996 and 2003. So many of his classic tracks. He dropped a few classic tracks on I think all three Raucous Sound Bombing compilation albums, I should mention as well. Those tracks were Stanley Kubrick, that's on the second Raucous Sound Bombing album. On Sound Bombing Volume 3, he had the classic track called what was the name of it? It's a tribute to old school hip hop. I'm trying to remember the name of the track. It's featuring Eldion. I'm trying to remember the name of the track. And Stanley Kubrick, which was on the second Raucous Sound Bombing album. On the first one, he also had a classic track on the first Raucous Sound Bombing album. That was a really, really impactful track on the first Raucous Sound Bombing album. It's called Flipside. That's the track from the first Raucous Sound Bombing compilation album. It's called Flipside. That's a very, very, not the longest track, but it's a very, very hard-hitting track, Flipside. And as I mentioned, on the second Raucous Sound Bombing album, there's a track, another classic track called Stanley Kubrick. And I just remembered now, on the third Raucous Sound Bombing compilation album, his track was called Golden Era, I believe, featuring Eldion, and he paid tribute to all of the Golden Era artists that were his idols when he was first got into hip hop. In 2006, R.A. was featured on the Jedi Mind Tricks track Uncommon Valor, a Vietnam story from the album Servants in Hell. Sorry, I got the album title wrong. In 2006, R.A. the Rugged Man was featured on the Jedi Mind Tricks track Uncommon Valor, a Vietnam story from the album Servants in Heaven, Kings in Hell. Again, the album name is Servants in Heaven, Kings in Hell, and that's a Jedi Mind Tricks album from 2006. Again, it's Servants in Heaven, Kings in Hell by Jedi Mind Tricks. And this is a time when Jedi Mind Tricks only had Vinny Paz as a solo rapper of the group. Justin Law was not a member of the group at the time. And on that track, Uncommon Valor, a Vietnam story, I consider that to be the defining moment of R.A. the Rugged Man's career. It is one of R.A. the Rugged Man's verse on that track is one of the most beautiful, heart-wrenching, and evocative hip-hop verses I've ever heard. On that track, R.A. speaks of his father's experiences and injuries and mental trauma in the Vietnam War and the effects his father's Agent Orange poisoning would have on his whole family. R.A. the Rugged Man's father passed away in early 2010. In early 2013, R.A. the Rugged Man released the studio album Legends Never Die. Legends Never Die, from start to finish, is just, I would consider another great, amazing album. Probably a top 20 of all-time hip-hop album. And this is a fairly recently released album. It's just over 4 years old. The album features great production from Apathy, Buck Wild, C. Lance, Will Tell, Shuko, Verbal, Marco Polo, Ayatollah, DJ Noise, Dev One, Mark Niles, Mr. Green, and Juicy Jacola. The album has features from singers such as Iman and Amelie Brune, and it has features from rappers like Sadat X, Vinny Paz, Hobson, Masta Ace, Brother Ali, Talib Kweli, Chris Calico, and Tech Nine. Sorry, I meant to say Brother Ali. My favorite tracks from Legends Never Die are Shoot Me in the Head, Laugh Clown Laugh, Bang Boogie, The People's Champ, Tom Thumb, Legends Never Die. In brackets, it's called Daddy's Halo. It's really a tribute to his dad, and that's a wonderful track, Legends Never Die, Daddy's Halo. And Media Midgets. All of those tracks I feel are extraordinary. All of the tracks also with features are extraordinary. I have been eagerly waiting for about 4.5 years for R.A. the Rugged Man to release a new solo studio album. He claims he's working on the album or has begun working on the album and will release it when he feels that everything is up to his standards. To end on a happy note relating to R.A. the Rugged Man's family life, his girlfriend gave birth in early January of 2016 to his first child, his daughter, named Ella Marie Thorburn. R.A. the Rugged Man said after his daughter Ella Marie Thorburn was born about 1.5 years ago in January of 2016 that she has a badass guardian angel up in heaven, referring to his dad, the late great Sergeant John Thorburn. May God bless R.A. the Rugged Man, his spouse, his daughter, his siblings, his family, his extended family, and all of his many friends in the hip-hop community. So number 12 on my list is the legendary R.A. the Rugged Man. And finally, I'm down for this segment to one final rapper. and that rapper is number 11 on my list. The last rapper in this installment is Ill Bill of La Coka Nostra and Heavy Metal Kings. Ill Bill was formerly a member of Non-Phixion, Secret Society, the Circle of Tyrants, and the heavy metal band Injustice. Ill Bill is from Brooklyn, New York City, USA. His real name is William Bronstein. Ill Bill grew up in the Glenwood Projects, or Glenwood Houses of Brooklyn, with his younger brother, Ron, who would become the famous horrorcore rapper Necro, and I previously mentioned Necro in this top rapper series. I think I had him somewhere between number 45 and 50 on my list. Ill Bill and his family later moved to the Canarsie area of Brooklyn. His mother, father, aunts, uncles, and cousins also lived in the Brooklyn and New York City area. His late great uncle, Howard, or Uncle Howie Tenenbaum, mostly known as Uncle Howie, would go on to have a huge impact on both Ill Bill and his brother Necro's lives and their musical careers. In the mid-1980s, Ill Bill and Necro were fans of hip-hop acts like Run DMC, Kool Moe Dee, Grandmaster Flash, the Beastie Boys, and LL Cool J. They were also fans of heavy metal bands like Metallica, Slayer, Bad Brains, and Megadeth. Ill Bill, Necro, and two other young musicians formed the heavy metal band Injustice. Injustice released two self-produced albums between 1988 and 1990. In about 1991, Ill Bill and Necro started to focus on hip-hop. They blended their heavy metal influences with streetwise, East Coast hardcore hip-hop to spawn their own unique lyrical style. This style of hip-hop can be categorized in several ways: as hardcore hip-hop, as East Coast hip-hop, as gangsta rap, and as horrorcore rap. Necro calls this style of rap death rap. In 1995, MC Search, formerly of Third Base, formed a new hip-hop group that included himself, Gore-Tex, Sabak Red, DJ Eclipse, and Ill Bill. This group became Non-Phixion. MC Search left the group shortly after, and the group's leader became Ill Bill. Non-Phixion released several underground singles, including the underground classic I Shot Reagan, featuring Necro, and that was released in 1998. Non-Phixion had record deals fall through with major labels such as Geffen Records, Warner Brothers Records, and Matador Records. In 2002, Non-Phixion's first album, The Future Is Now, was released on Ill Bill's personal label, Uncle Howie Records. In 2004, Non-Phixion released its second album, The Green CD, which also included a concert DVD on the Green CD. In my personal opinion, every Non-Phixion track is a classic. My favorite Non-Phixion tracks are 14 Years of Rap, featuring Q-Unique's rap group, The Arsonists, and the 4 Ws. So my favorite Non-Phixion tracks are 14 Years of Rap, featuring The Arsonists, and the 4 Ws. Non-Phixion broke up for good in 2006, so there was friction between the members of Non-Phixion, and they broke up in 2006. there was an unrealized side project called Secret Society, which was supposed to have consisted of the members of Non-Phixion and Necro together. By 2006, this side project ceased to exist, and nothing was released. In 2005, on Necro's label, Psychological Records, or Psycho plus Logical Records, the one-off side project, Circle of Tyrants, was released. The members of the Circle of Tyrants were Ill Bill, Necro, Mr. Hyde, and Gore-Tex. In 2004, Ill Bill released his debut studio album, What's Wrong with Bill, on Psychological Records. I consider What's Wrong with Bill a classic album. On this album, Ill Bill really came into his own stylistically. The album's lyrics involve themes of science fiction, gangster rap, violent street themes, the occult, politics, conspiracy theories, spirituality, and drug use. These themes continue to largely be the basis of Ill Bill's unique style. In 2005, Ill Bill helped form the underground hip-hop supergroup La Coka Nostra. This group consisted of Ill Bill, Everlast, of House of Pain fame, Big Left, Slain, of Special Teams fame, DJ Lethal of House of Pain, and Limp Bizkit, and Danny Boy of House of Pain. Everlast and Big Left have since left the group, and La Coka Nostra consists of DJ Lethal, Danny Boy, Ill Bill, and Slain. Danny Boy plays a very minor role currently in La Coka Nostra. Mostly the group is known now for consisting of Ill Bill, Slain, and DJ Lethal as their DJ/producer. La Coka Nostra has 2 studio albums, 2 mixtapes, and an EP. My favorite La Coka Nostra tracks are Get You By, the LCN Anthem, and Mind Your Business. In 2008, Ill Bill released his second studio album, The Hour of Reprisal, on his label Uncle Howie Records. The album The Hour of Reprisal is an underground classic. It's Uncle Howie Records. And The Hour of Reprisal is an underground classic. My favorite tracks from The Hour of Reprisal are My Uncle, I'm a Goon, and This Is Who I Am. The album also features several excellent collaborative tracks. Ill Bill performed with Necro on the album's final track, which is called Only Time Will Tell. The track Only Time Will Tell also features Tech Nine and Everlast. Necro and Ill Bill would have a falling out after the album's release. Necro and Ill Bill would not work together again until April 2016 on Real Wolf Productions' The Underworld 2 / The Underworld Part 2. Ill Bill first worked with Vinnie Paz of Jedi Mind Tricks on the track. Ill Bill first formed the hip-hop duo Heavy Metal Kings with Vinnie Paz of Jedi Mind Tricks on the track Heavy Metal Kings from the 2006 album Servants in Heaven, Kings in Hell by Jedi Mind Tricks. In 2010, Ill Bill released an album with DJ Muggs of Cypress Hill called Kill Devil Hills. In 2011, Ill Bill and Vinnie Paz released a self-titled album together as the Heavy Metal Kings. Bill and Vinnie have a second studio album as the Heavy Metal Kings planned for release in the next 18 months. In early 2013, Ill Bill released his third studio album, the Grammy Awards. My favorite tracks on the Grammy Awards are Exploding Octopus, When I Die featuring Tia Thomas. So I'll start again. Exploding Octopus, When I Die featuring Tia Thomas, and Violence featuring DJ Skiz, Lil Fame of Mashed Out Posse or M.O.P, and Shabazz the Disciple of Sons of Man. In June 2016, Ill Bill released his most recent solo studio album, Septagram. Septagram, in my opinion, has no standout tracks, but the whole album is extremely well produced and has several features with Gore-Tex, whom Ill Bill hasn't worked with in 10 to 12 years. It is nice to see the two former Non-Phixion MCs work together again. It is also nice to see that on Real Wolf Productions' track, The Underworld 2, that Ill Bill and his brother Necro are willing to share a beat. Hopefully, Necro and Non-Phixion can reform Secret Society and release a studio album. La Coka Nostra in late 2016 released the studio album To Thine Own Self Be True, and I feel that's a very solid album. I own it, and La Coka Nostra is as good as they were when they started. I really hope that Non-Phixion reforms after all these years. That's my main hope, that Ill Bill, Gore-Tex, Sabak Red, and DJ Eclipse can reform Non-Phixion and release an album. Well, that's I've finished. That's number 15 to number 11 on my top rapper series. I know I've gone through a lot of stuff. I've made verbally a lot of mistakes. I corrected most of those mistakes verbally, and you can just hit rewind or replay to if you missed anything. I will put some information into this as text in the descriptions section below the video. This video was a long time coming. It took a lot of effort to put together. I could have even put added information about these artists, but I felt it was unnecessary. If you have the patience, listen to this whole video. Don't try to skip through anything. You'll learn a lot about these hip-hop artists that I rate very, very highly. And I thank you guys for the time. Bye.